Let's hunt. 1, 2. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, I'm Keith Carver, Chancellor of the University of Tennessee at Martin, and I want to welcome you to our annual Veterans Day celebration. Now, this year looks a little different. We're in a virtual format, but it could never diminish how we feel about our veterans, especially our student veterans at UT Martin. We're so grateful for all the sacrifice and service and leadership that you provided for our country, both in foreign and domestic fields. So veterans, thank you very much.
The veteran I'd like to thank today is Michael D. Cochran. Michael served in the Air Force from 1982 to 92. He was in the Army Reserves from 96 to 2009, and he retired as a Staff Sergeant from the Army Reserve. During that time, he did serve in Iraq in 2005. When Michael was here at UT Martin, he was instrumental in creating the Skyhawk Veterans Association, and he worked with Dr. Alice Catherine Carls on that from the History Department. Currently, Michael lives in Memphis, and he works for a medical device company, and he's on the quality control team. So Michael, my friend, I'd like to thank you for your service.
I'm introducing James Copeland. James Copeland was a former student of mine several years ago, and today he is my friend. He was also my IT director, and he is the best person I can possibly imagine in terms of if you need a very loyal person in your life, it's James Copeland. And I think he learned a lot of those skills through the military, but I also think that that's how he is as a human being. He has the best smile. He can light up a room with that smile. And I am not an IT person at all, and James makes you feel as though you're not stupid whenever he walks into that room and he takes care of your stuff, your computer, your issue, he's there for you, always. But that's James Copeland. And as I said, I also know him on a personal level. He is a very good friend of mine, and I value and appreciate his steadfastness and his dedication to work, to ethics, and to people. James, thank you, and I love you.
I would like to thank my stepdad, the Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Corrado. He retired after almost 30 years with the U.S. Army. He was an infantryman, an airborne ranger, and was served overseas in Germany, Korea, Panama, and Australia. And we are very proud of all that he has done, the sacrifice and commitments that he has made with the military, and he is an honor to have in our family. Kevin, I thank you for all your service and sacrifice. You are my hero, and again, thank you for all that you have done.
I want to talk about one of my favorite student veterans, Stephen Davis. Stephen is a proud husband and father of 3 and a student at UT Martin. Stephen served overseas in the fields of Iraq, where he was deployed with the 3rd Medical Unit. Upon coming back from his tour of duty, he worked in the oil fields where he drove a tanker and quickly worked his way up into an administrative job working in the office. He decided that he wanted to go back to school, so he enrolled at Jackson State Community College, where he graduated with an associate's degree. Upon getting his associate's degree, Stephen looked around and decided that the best thing he could do was go ahead and complete his education, and so he came to UT Martin. And here he's been an extraordinary student. And Stephen will graduate in 2021 and join the ranks of the UT Martin alumni everywhere. Stephen, we're thankful for your service and the leadership and example you provide for all our students, faculty, and staff at UT Martin. Thank you.
Good morning and happy Veterans Day from the Skyhawk Nation. I would like to personally thank the Chancellor, faculty, and staff representatives that took time to say thanks during this ceremony and do so on a daily basis with their actions that benefit all of us as veterans. Our goal today was to put on display members of our campus and the community that hold veterans and their families in high regard and thank them for serving. I wanted to continue that trend and take this time to personally thank Mr. Justin Johnson, today's guest speaker, for his own service to our country. Thanks, Justin. He maintains a bachelor and a master's degree from the University of Memphis in social work. He is an accomplished and educated United States Marine and a man that gives back. As a United States Marine, he served during Operation Iraqi Freedom, and following his departure from the uniform, he continues service on the front lines helping veterans. General Mattis once stated that we should all be men, women of action. We should act like men, women of thought, and we should live with intensity and a passion for excellence. In my view, Justin understands this fact and has dedicated his life after military service to serving veterans with action toward their own excellence. I had not met him before today, but his service accomplishments and the past and present is how we came to ask him to speak at our event. For his service with the Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network and as the Regional Director for Memphis and Shelby County, for his advocacy for all programs in prevention of suicide, and for his service within the Veterans of Foreign Wars for Collierville and Western Tennessee. All of these display a man of action helping others that served unconditionally. I am pleased now to introduce to you Mr. Justin Johnson.
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation to speak at the University of Tennessee Martin's Veterans Day ceremony. My speech today might be a little different than your normal Veterans Day speech. Around the country, there will be celebrations, free meals, and services provided to veterans to thank them for their service. In fact, this day, Veterans Day, originated as Armistice Day on November 11th, 1919. The first anniversary of the end of World War, Congress passed a resolution in 1926 for an annual observance, and November 11th became a national holiday beginning in 1938. Unlike Memorial Day, Veterans Day pays tribute to all American veterans, living or dead, but especially gives thanks to living veterans who served their country honorably, whether during war or peacetime. I thought to myself, if this day is for veterans, what would I say to veterans? I think of my own journey as a veteran and what has impacted me the most, as a veteran of the United States Marine Corps and as a veteran of the Iraq War. If I had in front of me right now the 18.2 million veterans, what would I say to them? I would tell them my story, not about when I served, but about my life after the service as a veteran trying to readjust to living in the civilian world. In 2013, I found myself homeless and without a job, and a point in my life in which I did not want to go on. I made a last-ditch phone call to my buddy that I served with in Fallujah, Iraq, in the Marines in 2005. We reconnected, and I was honest with him of where I was at in my life and my struggles as a veteran. He was now a social worker at the Vet Center in Springfield, Illinois. And through many conversations that followed, he was able to help guide me in how to use my GI Bill, and I was able to enroll in college courses at my local community college. I was a first-generation college student, and this was all new to me. He then was able to help me find employment using the work-study program that goes along with the GI Bill. His help was extremely impactful for turning my life around and getting me in the right places and in front of the right people who could help me. My work-study placement was at the Memphis Veterans Affairs and their area named Transitional Care Management, which serves veterans that have recently separated from the military. There is a large population of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans that use transitional care management, and that job put me in direct contact with them every day. This was the first time that I had come in contact with veterans since my separation from the military in 2009. Once you see something, it's hard to unsee it. What I saw while working my work study at the Memphis Veterans Affairs is that my struggles were not just mine, but ones that many of my comrades shared. I was in alarm and in disbelief of the large number of veterans in my peer group who were not adjusting well to their life after service. Because of this experience, I started to reconnect with veterans that I had served with and started hearing about their stories of readjustment issues, divorces, suicide attempts, and completions. Sadly, a problem we all have become too familiar with is the epidemic of veteran suicide. On Veterans Day, a day reserved to pay tribute to all veterans, I want to dedicate this speech to raise awareness on the estimated 6,000 veterans we lose to suicide every year in the United States of America, and on average, the 200 veterans we lose every year in Tennessee. How do we stop this national tragedy? I believe that as veterans, we must take this problem on ourselves. For far too long, we have depended on the Veterans Affairs and other organizations to solve the suicide problem with veterans. I realize that suicide is a very complex issue and that there are many factors for suicide. But I believe the most preventable factor is relationships. What would my life be like now if I had not had a buddy I served with that knew how to help me enroll in college or help me guide me through the process of using the GI Bill? I believe my story is very similar to many veterans, and what a little initiative, we can make a difference in each other's lives. So where do we go from here? How do we start to develop communities where we are of veterans that can provide peer support to each other to help fight the factors that contribute to veteran suicide? I have 5 areas that I think we can focus our attention on as veterans so we can combat the epidemic of veteran suicide. There are many other areas besides the ones I'm going to list, but I think these areas could be the most impactful. Number 1, develop an effective outreach that is culturally competent of veterans. In my city of Memphis, we have a suicide prevention event that is designed for veterans only, named the Irreverent Warrior Silky's Hike. The event goal is aimed at using humor and camaraderie to bring veterans together to improve mental health and prevent veteran suicide. At my first hike, there were other veteran organizations present. As a student veteran, I was connected with the University of Memphis Student Veterans Organization, and I became a member of my local Veterans of Foreign War Post. There are 2 organizations. These are 2 organizations that are great support to me as a student veteran and now in my professional life. The Silky's Hike draws each year on average 200 veterans from West Tennessee, Eastern Arkansas, and Northern Mississippi. I believe the reason the Silky's Hike is so effective as an outreach is because it is for veterans only. There are no gimmicks or underlying nonprofits trying to raise money, but it is just an event where veterans can be themselves and meet other local veterans. From this event, I have been able to recruit veterans from my generation and change the demographic of Collierville VFW Post 5066 to have one of the largest memberships of post 9/11 veterans in the United States of America. This is not the only outreach that has been successful, but this is the one that has worked for me to help me get plugged into the local veterans community where I live. My advice is always keeping the veterans first when designing your outreach, and have it on another day other than you would traditionally have a veterans event. This allows no expectations, but the only expectation is for veterans to just be themselves. The only outcome out of the outreach is that the veterans in your city, town, or college would begin to bond and naturally start to form friendships. Peer support is critical. Number 2, education is the key. We are all aware at this point that veteran suicide is a problem. I think we have all at this point have took part in a 22-a-day push-up challenge, known a nonprofit that is dedicated to ending veteran suicide, or have served with someone that has died by suicide. But an area that I see helping us the most is being educated on the warning signs of someone that may be suicidal and how to properly intervene. At Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network, where I'm employed, we offer free evidence-based training for the everyday person to help you ask the question, are you suicidal? And then how to get the individual help when they're in a mental health crisis. Why evidence-based? Because it's training that is based on actual cases and proven interventions and not what someone thinks are best practices, but the proven best ways to detect and handle an individual that may be suicidal. Who needs the training? I would recommend anyone that comes in contact with veterans to include service members, veterans, and their families. I have seen data that show that over half of veterans use their educational benefits, so I would highly recommend any college staff to regularly take a class in suicide prevention. Number 3, have conversations around firearms. 70% of veteran suicides are by firearms, and we need honest conversations amongst ourselves of gun safety. Owning a firearm is a part of our culture, and having a firearm has helped to keep some of us alive that had deployed to combat zones. This is a topic that needs to be approached with a high level of understanding, the culture, and perspective. If a veteran is in a mental health crisis, it needs to become socially acceptable to let a friend or family member have possession of the veteran's firearm until they are in a stable place to regain possession of their own firearm. I believe this approach of gun safety and not gun restriction could lead to a dramatic decrease in veteran suicides and make veterans feel more comfortable about seeking help without the added fear of their firearms being taken away from them. A veteran giving up his or her firearm for their own safety and mental health concerns is an act of courage and has to stop being perceived as an act of punishment. If we change the culture, we can win this fight. Number 4, other veteran groups must work together. Other veteran groups must work with each other. This issue breaks my heart and is the biggest issue why a group, veterans, that has more resources and efforts dedicated towards it can have a bigger impact because of the lack of unity that I've personally seen amongst other veteran groups. All veteran groups have to work together for us to achieve all our desired results. It is not a competition. We all have different ways towards helping veterans. We all deployed as different branches and had different roles, but it took the entire military working as a team to bring us all back home. Let's all work as a team again and fight through differences. Number 5, join a congressionally chartered veteran service organization. If I meet a veteran that has their own nonprofit or ambitions of starting their own organizations towards helping veterans, the first question I usually ask is, are you involved with any of your locally congressionally chartered veteran groups? Why is this important? Because the chartered veteran service organizations are recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs and can advocate on veterans' claims and issues to Congress. If we do not like the services or benefits provided for veterans, these are the organizations that bring about the change because they have a voice to Congress. I am a life member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars that was chartered in 1936, where veterans of the Spanish-American War came home and banded together and started advocating on health care for veterans and widows' benefits. The veteran service organizations are responsible for some of the major legislation for veterans. Their impact cannot be ignored in providing camaraderie and help to veterans. The American Legion and Veterans of Foreign War posts are still present across the landscape of America and serve as a place which veterans still, to this day, look for help. The veteran service organizations need the younger generation of veterans more than ever to step up and become leaders. When veterans band together and put aside differences and petty jealousies, there is no limit of what we can do. We can liberate countries, and if we come together, we can help our brothers and sisters deal with mental health issues and reduce veteran suicides. The answer and the solution lie within our community. Thank you again to the University of Tennessee Martin for allowing me to speak today.
Today is the day we honor the noble and the brave, the men and women who dedicated their lives and the sacrifices that they have made. When America had an urgent need, they were the first to raise their hand without thinking twice about it. They were proud to take a stand. Some came back from war with battle scars, others in flag-draped coffins. Even though their flesh may have left, their spirits will never be forgotten. They unselfishly and knowingly put their lives on the line. So when you see a veteran, thank them, because without them, freedom would have died.
Greetings, Skyhawks. For those of you who don't know, I am Marcus Van Cleve. I'm the Veterans Benefits Specialist for the University of Tennessee at Martin, and also a UT Martin alum. As part of the UT Martin Veteran Services team, I am the mobile element serving our military-affiliated community at our regional campuses. As we all know, this year has been especially challenging for all of us, and even though we may not be having an in-person ceremony, I cannot thank you all enough for your contributions to make this happen. From members of the surrounding community in Martin, to all of our UT Martin students, staff, and faculty at our regional campuses, and also here at the main campus, thank you. Speaking of members of the community, there's one veteran we miss recognizing in our tribute to service. Here's Jason Garrison, an Air Force veteran who's currently a plant manager at a combined cycle power plant for the Tennessee Valley Authority. A Union City native, Jason served as a crew chief on an F-15 Eagle, and upon his honorable discharge, to this day, he continues his over 20-year career in the commercial power industry. Thank you for your service, Jason. Allow me to remind you all today is a day for celebration. Yes, the term veteran is directly associated with sacrifice, and we should acknowledge and honor those who have sacrificed all they have for the greater good. This brings me to a saying you may have heard before. All gave some gave all. Each veteran's service is as unique as we are as individuals. No matter the extent of a veteran's service, if a person served in the active military, naval, or air service and was discharged or released under conditions other than dishonorable, no matter the details of that individual service, they deserve our thanks. Thank you. In closing, I'm going to ask something of you. The next time you run into someone who you think is a veteran, instead of asking if they are a veteran, ask, have you ever served in the military? And if they say yes, ask them, what did you do? You'll never get the same answer twice. Again, experiences will vary. Who knows? They may have a really cool story to tell. You may hear a story about how their name was on the side of an F-15 aircraft, like Jason Garrison's, or how they used to fly drones in the military. Anyways, thank you for watching. And from all of us at UT Martin Veteran Services, we want to wish you all a happy and safe Veterans Day. Thank you.